Tonight we're going to do a study on the old serpent. By the end of this lesson, you're going to understand who this old serpent is. Serpent is also called viper, dragon, or flying serpent, or serpent in the Bible. The characteristics, if you think about it, of a serpent or a snake is deception, there's deceiving, there's poisonous and non-poisonous, they're subtle, can camouflage themselves, they hate to fail, and are focused on achieving their goals and tasks they have set out for themselves. They're very intelligent and quick to strike. The snake is a symbol of the tempter and can be considered as evil. Some humans have characteristics that are similar to serpents. This is their characteristics. They're not available unless they need something, are judgmental, they feed off a drama, often in a crisis mode, manipulative, and always the victim. They're deceitful, they envy, they have hostilities, and desire for power. I can think of a few people like that. A few scriptures in the Bible of evil men compared to serpents are Psalms 58, 2 through 4, Psalms 140, the first three verses, and I'll read those. Psalms 140, verses 1 to 3. Rescue me, O Lord, from evil men. Preserve me from violent men who devise evil things in their hearts. They continually stir up wars. They sharpen their tongues as a serpent. Poison of vipers is under their lips. And then I'll go to the next scripture too, Matthew 12:34. You brood of vipers, how can you bring evil, speak what is good, for the mouth speaks out that which fills the heart. Remember, he says also, there's a scripture, he talks about the treasure of the heart. Whatever's in there will come out. And he was talking about the Pharisees, and he was rebuking them. He says, you vipers. He called them vipers. Vipers in that area of the world are considered very poisonous snakes. They're evil. They think they speak good, but they're only speaking what their heart has. All right. Also, you can find a couple more scriptures in Matthew 23, 33, and Luke 3, 7. Psalms 58, 2 through 4, 140, the first three verses, Matthew 12, 34, 23, 33, and Luke 3, 7, all to do with evil men that are similar to vipers and serpents. All right, there's different places in the Bible. We're going to go through where it talked about either serpents or dragons or snakes or some situation. Some of them I'll read and others I won't. But Genesis 3, remember, is about the tempting of Eve, who was tempted by the serpent. She was tempted to eat what was wrong. Even though the snake might have been right, but he twisted the words of God to his liking to make her to do what he wanted done. Deception. He lied. He twisted things. He was the enemy himself, Satan, in animal form. All right, Numbers 21:9 talks about poisonous snake bites in the wilderness for the Israelites. And Moses was told by God to hoist a snake, emblem of a snake, and he made a brass snake and hung it on a pole, probably his staff, for people to look at. And as they looked at it, they became healed. All right, this is also the same symbol used for medicine. This is where it came from. But it is the symbol, it's called the rod of Asclepius. Also, this Asclepius was a mythical god of healing that they say it is today, but it actually came from Moses' time. All right, Job 26:13 said Job was telling his friends that God made the serpents even. Well, he made all animals. He created everything. Isaiah 27:1 says, talked about the sea serpent, which was a Leviathan. Leviathan was a sea serpent. It was an actual sea serpent. Isaiah 27:1. We're going to go to Isaiah 30, verse 6. Now this is Judah that was warned against doing business with the Egyptians. And they were going to go seek help with the Egyptians against this Assyrian army that was heading their way to fight the battle. And he was going to ask their help. But this verse says something different. The oracle concerning the beast of Negev. Through a land of distress and anguish, and where come lioness and lion, viper and flying serpent. Flying serpent here is what we consider the fire-breathing dragon. And the fire-breathing they put into dragons or anything, and even some poisonous snakes is called fire dragons, because their poison actually burns and destroys tissue. And the burning effect feels like fire. They carry their riches on the backs of young donkeys and their treasures on camels' humps, to a people who cannot profit them. Warning them, why go do business with vipers? Why go do business with and go through with asking help of all these evil men and everything, because they're out for themselves. If you can pay them, if you can benefit them, they'll benefit you. And that's what the evil men do. Unless they need something, they won't help you if they can't get a benefit out of it. It shows their selfishness and the deception of Egypt and reasons why they needed to avoid them. All right, let's go back to Matthew 10:16. Matthew 10:16. Let me read that. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. He's talking about the disciples, saying, I send you forth to do the work of the kingdom. Therefore be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. Shrewd here in the King James even talks about wise as serpents. Remember I said the serpents are very wise and intelligent beings? So be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, and be good, and to understand we as disciples must stop and be wise in God's work and do what he says in watch and pray. Jesus said to watch and pray. John 3:14 says Jesus must be lifted up the same way that the serpent was lifted up during Moses' time. Just as the serpent was lifted up for physical healing, Jesus had to be lifted up on a pole for spiritual healing, for salvation. And of course, because of his whippings, he was brought healing to us in abundant life. We'll go to 2 Corinthians 11:3. 2 Corinthians 11:3. But I am afraid lest as a serpent deceived Eve by the craftiness of your minds, should be led astray from simplicity and purity of deception into Christ. Paul was speaking to his leadership and everything, helping them to understand. He says, be careful that you're not led astray by false doctrines, led astray by their deceptions, wherever you're going to minister. And then Jesus, even, that's what he was talking about, being wise as serpents. Be careful where you're going. Be careful what we do, that we're not deceived the same way that Eve was and go the wrong direction and do the wrong thing. But stay true to the gospel. Stay true to the simplicity of the gospel and to all that Christ is. And make sure we're not deceived to pull away from of everything that God has for us. We're going to go to the last two scriptures here. This is talking about the old serpent. These actual two scriptures has the term old serpent. Revelations 12, 7 through 9. And there was a war in heaven, Michael and his angels raging war with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels waged war. And they were not strong enough, and there was no stronger a place found for them in heaven. And the serpent dragon was thrown down, and the serpent of old, who is called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, he is thrown down to earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. So he was thrown down. This is at the end, during the end time, talking about he is cast out of heaven, cast out of his position in the heavenly. See, right now he's in the, was the scripture said in Ephesians that we're fighting against principalities and powers of the air. So he's thrown down to the physical earth to be his place to live. He comes to do things here occasionally now, but he is thrown down during this time. And I read in a commentary saying that it was during the close to the time of the white throne judgment, so God was throwing him out of the way because he's accuser of the brethren, to get him out of the way so Jesus can judge righteously. And of course, if he's down to earth, how much damage he's going to do yet here on earth, according to the scriptures, if you've heard my studies on Revelations. All right, the last scripture is found in Revelations again. This is in chapter 20, verse 2. And he laid hold of the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. So this is before the millennial time, that he binds up Satan after the 7-year tribulation for 1,000 years. And who that old serpent is? He is the dragon. He's Satan. He's the viper. He's a flying serpent. You can find a lot of the description of who the Satan and the serpent and the dragon is in the book of Revelations here. So he is Satan himself, Lucifer, who is doing damage to, trying to get control of God's kingdom. But he cannot have it. This is teaching us that we must be careful of evil people and those that we hang with. I've said this many times. Be careful who you're around, because they may affect your lives. And I know for a fact, even as strong as I am in the Lord, that if I listen to some people that have these characteristics, it's just like afterwards, like you feel like you're spiritually drained. It pulls on you. We must be careful of evil people and those who seem like serpents. And there's so many behind pulpits, the false doctrines and false prophets that is prophesied in the Bible are people that are these type of serpent evil men and women. They teach false things. And they put it in such a deceptive way, you're going to receive it because you want to. And be wise as serpents, and be, like Jesus said, and to be watchful and pray. We need to be wiser than he is. What is it? You know the scriptures, and you'll know how to fight. Putting on that battle armor, you'll be able to fight and know exactly what he's saying, what he's doing, and his tactics. You'll learn about him. So we're only learning a little bit tonight, but go ahead and study some more about him. There's many, many other scriptures in the Bible that you can learn and gain from, to know his tactics and know how he works, and to realize that he works through natural means. He works through political means. He works through medical means. He works through just about everything in life, even in our spiritual lives. He'll try to deceive us. And be like Paul said in the Corinthians, to beware and be careful that you're not easily deceived and pulled away by these evil doctrines and evil men, that we preach and teach the true gospel of Christ, because we're in the last day and time, and we can't waste no more time. We got to stay strong and not let the enemy pull us away like Eve was easily pulled away. That we can be strong for the gospel, strong for Christ. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Please comment below. We would appreciate it.